I could recall like from the very beginning when we were dating, and even when we go visit Detroit, we'll go somewhere. You'll be like, "Oh, I lived over there. Oh yeah, mom, you remember we used to stay over there with our auntie and or it'll be a memory, and you had your memories were associated with an address, and I was like, wow, like you moved a lot. That was your upbringing, and so in the back of my head, like, okay, let's have because we just moved to San Antonio at the time, 2 years before. Let's get some roots somewhere. Let's get some stability somewhere. And so that was the one thing, in addition to, wanting to be fiscally responsible, and really just not to have to give that much money for interest. I'm not a fan of, you have this quote that you say about interest, and essentially, I'd rather be making it than paying it, right?
Right. And how did you feel when you were just so dead set, like, hey, like we are not going to spend 30 years paying this off. Like, what was your mindset in that space when you were so dead set on it and you knew that I wasn't necessarily brought in on it? How did you feel and how did you process to get me to see things your way?
Yeah, well, you know, one thing is that sometimes when you're a leader, you gotta let the people who's following you, their conscience convince them. And so the
Okay,
best
Dr.
thing,
Love.
I mean, the best thing for me to do was to lead, excuse me. And so I understood that we didn't have to pay extra. And I understood that we were thinking out of the box, but the thing is that I also understood that stability would be priceless.
Mm.
I could recall like from the very beginning when we were dating, and even when we go visit Detroit, we'll go somewhere. You'll be like, "Oh, I lived over there. Oh yeah, mom, you remember we used to stay over there with our auntie and or it'll be a memory, and you had your memories were associated with an address, and I was like, wow, like you moved a lot. That was your upbringing, and so in the back of my head, like, okay, let's have because we just moved to San Antonio at the time, 2 years before. Let's get some roots somewhere. Let's get some stability somewhere. And so that was the one thing, in addition to, wanting to be fiscally responsible, and really just not to have to give that much money for interest. I'm not a fan of, you have this quote that you say about interest, and essentially, I'd rather be making it than paying it, right?
Right.
And so that was really just my mindset is I would rather be making interest than paying interest. And if we're able to pay off this home early and buy the bank out, right? That was always the thing. And if you look at that principal and the interest payment, it's apparent.
Yes.
It's apparent like how a lot of the money that you're paying in interest is just because you borrowed the money. It's not even that you paying them back yet.
Right.
And so I was like, this future, this stability, these are all things that, given where we were from, how we were trying our best to do things, the right way, going to school, getting a job, that the next step was a home, and that having that home paid off and having equity in that home was what the system told you to do, right? For
Yeah.
for for success. And even though like it took, like I said, I had to lead and then let your conscience convince
Yeah.
you. And it didn't take long, even though, when you're printing out hypothetical schedules and you're talking about things hypothetical, we could save so much money in interest. It's different when you actually log in,
Oh yeah.
right? And that's what made you a believer and giving you the space, I would say, to have your conscience convince them. So what did you have to tell yourself to actually take that step? And then after that, like after taking that step, what what were the benefits, would you say? So how did you get out of your way? And then after getting out of your way, what were the experiences that you had from, paying off that home 4 years later?
I really appreciate this because if I'm being honest, and I think that it's important to tell the listeners, I was more or less in a scarcity mindset. And what I mean by that is I believe that if I were to put that money toward the house, I wouldn't get it back. And I
Yeah,
needed to physically feel, see, and
that
be
makes
able to
sense.
transact that money
Because we would
because,
never touch the money.
yes, right, right.
I was talking about future money.
Yes, future money that I couldn't see, touch. I had to have a belief and had to have faith. And your faith at that moment was stronger than my beliefs and stronger than the faith that I carry. So I know for me, growing up, we didn't have much of anything. And to be in that situation where I watch struggle, where I watch people work hard and not get much,
Mm-hmm.
I was in a space where I was working hard and I was reaping the benefits. Like I did everything right. I went to school, I got good grades, I paid attention, and I was reaping the benefits. And I felt like that would be taken away from me if I
Mm.
would have put it on the house.
Yeah, like you were cheating
Yes,
yourself,
I
huh?
was cheating myself. And I know that's the phrase that we went by when I grew up. You got to treat yourself, don't cheat yourself. And a part of me having that long list of things was the act of me treating myself. But what I know now that I didn't know then was I was actually cheating myself, thinking that if I paid on the house early, that I wouldn't reap the benefits of it. And by actually getting out of that scarcity mindset and paying the house off early, I realized that I'm living that treat yourself, not cheat yourself slogan.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is, and I got to give you your flowers, like you're a great leader. It took me to be okay with following you.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about all of the benefits that we've gained from paying the house off early, we've gained the benefit of going into a global pandemic that we had no
Yep.
idea
Took
that
the
was
house was paid off
coming,
in
and our
2019.
house was paid off. And we didn't have to worry or have that looming worry over our head that someone's going to take this home away from us, take
Yep.
the roof over our head
They may take the
away from us,
job,
right? And it
but
was
they
the
wouldn't take the home.
exactly,
And
they
that
can
was our
take the
mindset.
job but not take the home. And it was the biggest blessing that I wasn't necessarily ready to receive. I wasn't ready to receive that blessing to know that I had stability because, as you mentioned, I associated memories of my childhood to zip codes and to addresses because we moved around so much, and we moved so much that I lose count of how many houses that we lived in. So stability was more important to me than anything else, and I didn't realize that the stability of having a home, a paid off home that no one can take away from you,
Right.
was the best blessing and the biggest sigh of relief that I've ever breathed in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the benefit of it on both sides.